Guess what time it is? Hello? Hello? Hello, Shannon. How about again, Shannon? Good afternoon, club. There it is. There it is. All right. My monitor is dark. Is that? Welcome to the Rotary Club of Oakland. Shh. Thank you. The Rotary Club of Oakland, 42,000 Rotary clubs in the world, and we are number third oldest Rotary club. And you got an email from me. 16. We were chartered a couple days ago, 116 years ago. So we're going to sing in a few minutes because, got to sing now and then, but I want to say hi to my Zoomers. Hello, Jane. Nice to see you, Jane. Tom Lamone, Linda, Melena. I'm saving Iris for later, baby. Okay, I can't quite see everybody else. Welcome, for those of you that are on Zoom. When you can't make it, please come on Zoom. And if you miss both meetings, you can watch us on YouTube. So please check in on your social media. And I'd like to ask Miss Iris Brody Lopez, who looks amazing after having some pretty major, little bit of surgery, and she is fabulous as ever. And give us our thought for the day. Iris, welcome. Iris. Unmute. You're on.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. Today's thought for the day is in honor of longtime Rotarian Marty Burchell, who passed away today. Let's remember the beautiful spirit of a woman who touched our lives with her kindness, laughter, and love. Though she is gone, her memory lives in our hearts, guiding us with light that she's always shared with us.
Thank you. Iris, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Marty Burchell. Thank you, Iris, and thank you for being with us. We wanted to see your face after a long journey the last couple of weeks. Amazing. Marty was a good friend. She was the executive director of the Potomac for many, many years, and in this club for, I should know this, but at least 25, maybe 30 years. So we will miss Marty. She was a light. So with this little birthday greeting, this is the second Thursday, and I know we're not in the routine of this, but the second Thursday of every month, we want to give people an opportunity to ring the bell if they want to recognize a birthday, an anniversary, 116 years in Rotary, or Marty Burchell for certain. So it is our second Thursday bell ring moment. So with that, Stephanie.
Thank you, President Shannon. I would like to ring the bell in honor of Marty.
Marty. And CJ.
Oh, CJ.
Here.
Not Mike.
I would like to ring the bell for Marty and the fact she was a key player in creating the Minerva as a group of women nonprofit executives in Oakland. She was the best.
Thank you. Lois.
I'm going to ring the bell for Black History Month, which is every day. And no matter what happens in other places, here in Rotary, we're not erasing any of those things.
Black History Month. Thank you. All right. Anybody online? Yes, Pam.
I'll ring the bell for having 3 pars with the ladies Niners at Sequoia yesterday.
Wow, good job, Joe Gorelka.
Stay here. I'm going to ring the bell for Jason Wiseman and Linda Hamilton. We had a fabulous dance party last weekend.
We sure did.
Thank you.
We sure did.
there, buddy. Glad you're there.
Great. I'm going to ring the bell for Caroline Hobbs, who could dance with the craziest dancer at Riggers Loft that they've ever seen, and she was able to keep up.
He was special, that guy. Very
So Caroline Hobbs. Great. Thank you so much. So,
Hold on, Merlin's on the job.
I'd like to ring the bell for the club's birthday.
the club's birthday. All right, well, let's sing happy birthday to our club. 116 years. And we have a whole bunch of birthdays. We have cake. And anybody's today, Stephanie's the 7th. Karen Friedman, you're coming up. Catherine Coleman's coming up. Happy birthday for February birthdays. And let's sing happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Oakland Rotary and all of our friends. Happy birthday to, oh, you guys are terrible. You're as bad as I am. Oh my gosh, but thank you for trying.
I can sing happy birthday better than that, man. Come on.
Try. For those of you that are guests, when someone rings that bell, it's actually a $100 donation to our Oakland Rotary Endowment. Thank you, everybody. And Carrie and Linda are ringing the bell for Marty. Thank you very much. Marty was a wonderful friend. Okay, quickly, how many of you actually answered that little mini survey that I put out? Thank you. So here's the deal. We have almost 250 members and I had 80 responses. Right? We're going to send out a few more surveys in the next few months to try and continue to refresh and energize our club. So if they're going to be short, I promise, please answer the surveys. What we found was, and I think I have a slide, but it's too busy, but I'm going to tell you what's on it. A slide for the meeting survey is, do we want to move out of a freezing cold ballroom? Okay. I've been coming to this ballroom for 36 years. I'm ready for a change. It's not easy to change. We may not be able to do it, but we're asking for help and for suggestions. And this is your club, not my club. So right now we're kind of talking about how often should we meet? Where should we meet? And I need a few more people to answer, but basically people want to meet 3 times instead of 4 times, sort of is the majority. And some people want to leave and some people don't. There's not a mandate. So more data is needed, but we also appreciate feedback. So that's survey results, but please answer. A little more Rotary business. Jesse, the most exciting news of the day is how to pay your dues.
It's all about trying to collect your dues. As you know, we sent dues out in December. We still have $36,000 that have not come in. So the solution to this is to get on monthly payments. We are requiring all of our new members to be on monthly payments. Myself, I was surprised by a PG&E bill envelope not too long ago. I forgot to pay my PG&E bill that sat on my desk and I had a 24-hour notice. So I quickly got myself on PG&E monthly payments. So if you're not on monthly payments, we are encouraging, we're making all new members do that. We're encouraging older members to do that. There's a form on your table. We now can take ACH payments, which is by far the best way for us to do it, less fees. And since your credit card gets hacked every year, you don't have to give us another credit card number. Anyway, the form's on your table. You can fill them out. If you've already paid your dues for this coming year, we can get you set up for when the new dues invoice comes out in January. So encouraging people to do that. If you have any questions, just let me know. The other 2 things is that we know we've had ongoing issues with our mail not being delivered. I just opened a post office box yesterday at the 7th Street Post Office. So we'll get that number out to everybody and all the new invoices and anything sent out will have that PO box. So hopefully that will help prevent that. And the other thing is just to let you know that the board approved, starting with Joe's year, we're going to quit billing dues twice a year. We're going to bill them once a year. So in June, you'll get a bill for Joe's entire year. It's going to be obviously more than some people used to paying, which is also going to help encourage people to get monthly payments. So appreciate that.
So here's a quiz. How often are you going to get billed next year? Once a year. And what would be the best way to pay your dues? Monthly on ACH, so we don't pay any credit card payments. This is important. So please, please, please. And if you are old school and you love writing checks, you can pay your check in full at the beginning of the year. One check, all done. So the only time we're going to take a check is if you're going to pay in full upfront. It's all good. Amazing, right? Okay. Now, one of our favorite things to do, which helps us pay for this ballroom, is adding to our membership group, as well as giving them an opportunity to help make the world a better place. So with that, David Stein is going to introduce our newest member of the Oakland Rotary Club. David.
President Shannon, fellow Rotarians and guests, it's my privilege today to introduce Oakland Rotary's newest member, Mac McFadden. Mac and his wife, Drea Finch, own McFadden Finch Holding Companies. McFadden Finch provides consulting services to a range of businesses, including real estate development, construction, in-home pet care, project management, and philanthropy. 2 interesting facts about Mac. Number 1, he served for 23 years in the Coast Guard and 3 years in the Army, where he earned 3 master's degrees and then added 3 more master's degrees after leaving service. In his leisure time, he likes to ride Harley Davidsons and play tennis, but a word of warning, he was a professional tennis player for a year. Please give a warm Oakland Rotary welcome to Mac McFadden.
Wow. You're going to intimidate all these other members that don't have as many master's degrees, but we have amazing members. Can you tell? And we're all wearing pinstripes today. Amazing. Mac, welcome to the Rotary Club of Oakland. Here's your badge and your pen. And we have a little goodie bag here with a roster of all your new besties. And does everybody know the 4-way test? Of course they do. What do we do in this club, in this world organization? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? We do have a pillar of important 4-way test. And we have a book here of our first 100 years. We need another addendum to the extra 16 years of the Oakland Rotary Club. It's really actually great reading, written by one of our own Rotarians, Linda Hamilton. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you.
We look forward to having you. Oh my goodness.
Y'all can show more enthusiasm than that, man. Come on, I'm disappointed.
Rick Draper.
Well done.
Rick and Mac, thank you for your service. Definitely. And because it takes a village, and I totally forgot guests of Rotarians, I'd like to take a moment to introduce, that's what you were saying, Tricia. I didn't hear you correctly. We have some guests of Rotarians. Please welcome them. Stephanie.
Hi, President Shannon. I'm pleased to introduce Ann Brick, who is actually a guest of David Stein. And she is the former attorney with the ACLU, and she's very interested in our club and our world community service work.
Thank you and welcome. Barbara Berry. Barbara.
Hello, Rotarians and President Shannon. I am happy to introduce our walk-in guest, Craig Johnson. Stand up.
Craig is in commercial real estate. Thank you very much for coming, Craig. And he also got some Rotary scholarships as a kid. So we would love to have, oh, hello, Anna Marie. Yes, sir.
I know it's cold and nobody wants to be here at the moment, but come on, man, show some love and enthusiasm, make it warm in the ballroom. It's cold every time of year.
Yeah.
Do that, please.
Trisha.
Hello, I'd like to introduce my guest, Artavia Berry, the new CEO
of Fresh Lifelines for Youth. She's an amazing addition. We're so happy to have her, and I encourage you all to meet her after the meeting.
Thank you and welcome. And my apologies for the late introductions for our wonderful guests. All right, now I would like to just make a quick announcement. There's a slide for International Women's Day. This will not be canceled. This is a district event and it's in March. So you can go on the district website and see about the International Women's Day. In fact, I liked seeing Iris up there because she was part of the Centennial and another big promotion about women in Rotary. I'll have to pick her brain on that. All right, with that, we have another event which you can come and join your fellow Rotarians. Mary Jiang.
Good afternoon. Could I have a roaring 恭喜發財 from everyone? Yes, my name is Mary Jiang, and I'm the past president of Oakland Rotary number 3. On January 29th, 2025, the year of the snake begins with 2 weeks of celebration culminating with the New Year parade in San Francisco on February 15th. So people born in the year of the snake are believed to be extra charming, creative, and elegant. So famous people born during the year of the snake are John F. Kennedy, Pablo Picasso, Taylor Swift, and R.J.K. Rowling. Do you think they're very creative people? Yeah. So if you're a snake, this year you'll be either age 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, etc. How many snakes are in the audience? Wow, Trisha. Okay, Karen, good. So the Rotary Club will celebrate Lunar New Year on February 13, next Thursday, at the Piona Seafood Restaurant in Oakland, Chinatown. The cost is $85 for a 10-course dinner. How much does a 3-course dinner usually cost you? Okay, so during the celebration, we normally wear red clothes or shades of red, 50 shades of red, and give children and single people red envelope. You see on the screen, crisp bills. They're called 红包, red envelope. And red symbolizes fire and good luck, which is, according to legend, can drive away bad luck. So Rotarian, what color will you wear next week? And you see on the screen, there's 9 courses there. They're missing 1 more course, the dessert. So, and then you see on the screen, tangerines and orange represent prosperity because they represent the color gold. And so people during New Year, like clean the house, get new clothing, and we'll visit each other for dinner, exchange food gifts. So everyone on your table, there's a QR code for the Lunar New Year dinner. Please do that or give Jesse a check. Go ahead if I try.
Thank you very much, Mary. I'm going and I'm going to go get a custom red something that Mary's going to take me shopping for. So if you want to see me with my new garb, come to the dinner. It's going to be fun. Bonnie Prestridge, we need your help for the Enterprise Institute.
Hey, everybody. I'm Bonnie with the Enterprise Institute Committee. Could I get a show of hands? Who amongst you at your workplace offers internships, apprenticeships, or job opportunities for high school students? Anybody? Okay. Can I get a show of hands if you know somebody whose workplace might? Okay, I see 1. Great. So I'm gonna plant the seed in your brains. We're going to be gathering a bunch of high school students in March to do a professional development curriculum over the weekend. And last year, I learned from our participants that a lot of their high schools don't have guidance counselors. They are not being connected with professional opportunities. And I think in the current budget environment, that's probably not getting any better. So we would like to use the clout and the influence and the breadth we have of Rotary to try and connect them. We're not going to ask anyone to just give an internship. We just want to compile a list that they can apply for and interview for. So please keep this in mind. I'm going to leave my card at the back. You can also find my contact info on the Ignite app. But if you have any leads on job opportunities, internships, apprenticeships for teens in any industry, I want to talk to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bonnie. Can you imagine going to the Redwoods and hanging out for 3 days in high school and then getting connected with an internship or an interview opportunity? It could be as much as doing interview opportunities and coaching. So a lot of ways that we can connect with our youth. So we also connect with our youth through giving money out there, and we can't give money if we don't raise money. So Stephanie has an announcement about our gala.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Stephanie Kazenza, and along with Ruth Straub, we are co-chairing this year's gala, A Service Safari. It's April 10. Please put it on your calendar. It'll be in the lobby of the beautiful 1111 Broadway office building in downtown Oakland. So it's bartable, or you can park at the Marriott across the street in Valet. Just reminding you, you'll be hearing a lot from us over the coming weeks. We need sponsorship, and you can buy your tickets and you can do your sponsorships online now. So please, that's how we are able to do what we do in this club, is by raising money for the ORE campaign, of which this event is part of. And so I'm going to be looking at all of you, talking to all of you to get those sponsorships in and make this a really fun party. Rotarians love to talk and see each other. So our goal is to have a really fun event, but we do have to raise money too. Thank you so much.
We're also looking for experiential ideas for the live auction. Experiential ideas that would raise lots of money. All right, with that, we have more experiences here. What are you dressed for, sir? It's raining outside. Did you ride your bike just to meeting today?
Oh, sure. Hey, thank you. Thank you, President Shannon. Giving me the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite activities, which is cycling. I'm Steve Blair, by the way. And so first I want to say that we do this as part of the Fun, Sport, and Adventure Committee. In particular, we recently did a bike ride from Berkeley up to Richmond. I think there's a couple of slides, right? Oh, there we are. So you can see the president and the president-elect came along. It was very nice. And we had a nice time. We went up along the Richmond waterfront, all through the marina. We had lunch at Cafe Roma, and then we stopped by the Riggers, but we didn't get wine. We ended up, next slide, we stopped at East Brothers Brewery, and that's Marlene Sachs there sampling the wares. So it was a very nice time. Anyway, so with that, we are going to do another ride, and this is going to be up in Sonoma, and there'll be the tour of the Sonoma Valley, and that'll be on February 22nd. And so the idea is we'll meet up at it's the Dry Creek General Store, and we're going to ride around the Sonoma Valley counterclockwise through the wine country. It's a fabulous ride, and we've got three options. Now, first one's 35 miles. If you can do that, we'll start at 10 o'clock. If that's too much, then 25 miles, we'll start that at 11 o'clock, and you can we'll meet up along the way. But if you don't like riding, but you do like wine, then you could just meet us at the Raymond Burr Winery, drive up there and meet us at 1 o'clock. And we'll be there. We'll be rolling in, and Kathleen Uribe has a contact up there, and they're going to be waiting for us. So hope to see you up in Sonoma on the 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. We cycle for purpose, and sometimes we cycle for fun, and sometimes you just come to the winery. So when in doubt, socialize on a bike with Rotarians. Thank you, Steve. All right, with that, it's time. One quick thing before I bring CJ up is we are working on inoculating, eliminating polio off the face of the planet, right? We're going to be this close. No matter what happens in the world, we're still doing it. So just wanted you to know, it's people are talking about it. With that, I'd like to introduce CJ Hirschfeld to introduce our wonderful speaker.
Thank you, President Shannon. So, Mother Jones Magazine calls him Oakland's merchant of bad vibes. Richmond Confidential calls him the master of disaster. He's the fixer to the San Jose Mercury News and Top Gun for hire to the San Francisco Chronicle. But when your tiger escapes from your zoo, your fast food company faces a food poisoning outbreak, or your ship strikes the Bay Bridge, he is and was the one to call. Former journalist and political consultant Sam Singer, president of Singer Associates in San Francisco, is an award-winning public relations expert. And don't tell anyone, he's also a genuinely nice guy with a wicked sense of humor. When he's not putting out PR fires, he and his wife Sharon are collecting oceanic, Indonesian, and Himalayan art, or as a dedicated foodie, enthusiastically advising you as the best things to order at Rockridge Market Hall. Please welcome Sam Singer to tell us about the challenges of crisis management.
Thank you, CJ. I'm honored to be here today. And it was such a pleasure to hear you ring the bell for so many good causes and good people. And I want to whack it once and give you and donate $100 thank you. In honor of Dennis Richmond, who really was the face of Oakland for so many years and who just passed away. And, you know, for those of all of us here who grew up watching the 10 o'clock news, he was really Oakland. And so very sad to see him pass. And I understand maybe perhaps he even was a guest speaker here in past years. So I'm honored to be here today. I also want to say that I feel fortunate that, you know, not only was CJ my boss at one point in my career and gave me great opportunities, and you know, I now know what I know because of her. She was sort of a men in black character, trying to make the world safe for cable television, and she did for a while until they also bought everything else. And then secondarily, Carrie Hamill is here, who was my boss at BART, and I learned so many tremendous things from her and the folks at BART. I encourage you to take it. It's an incredible public transportation system, and really rely and depend upon it now and even more so in the future. And then perhaps actually the person you should be hearing from today is Sam Sacco, who's sitting over here, and his guest, Rick. Sam was my boss many years ago, maybe the 1990s when I was a young pup, at the PBN company. And he is really, for my money, the #1 crisis communications guy in the nation. He's got great sense. He's super smart, funny as hell, and great to work for. I also want to say my connection to Rotary is I went to graduate school at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, and right behind graduate student housing is the Rotary International headquarters. So I'd literally look at it every day. I grew up in Berkeley. It's my hometown. Both my mother and my father were professors at Cal. My mom taught psychology, and my dad taught physics. And so I had this opportunity to be in the Athens of the West, next to Oakland, which is part of that Athens of the West. And growing up here, before I talk about crisis communications, I kind of want to get to how I got there, but also the things that informed my existence. Oakland really was the center of my life when I was a kid. We'd come down to Chinatown on the bus. We wander up and down Broadway. It's really in many ways where I got my start. I was interested in politics, and I worked for Jeffrey Cohalan, who was the congressman for Oakland and the East Bay for many, many years. I worked when I was 6 or 8 years old on Telegraph Avenue, and then I worked on Broadway on Auto Row for Jeffrey Cohalan. And then in 1968, one of the most important things in my family was seeing that Robert F. Kennedy become elected president of the United States. And his headquarters actually was Bloxham here. It was the corner of Grand Avenue and Webster. And had the opportunity to work there as a kid walking precincts. But the thing that strikes me all the time, and I still have a pile of them because I save everything, was that we would go to now what's known, I believe, as the Ridge at 51st and Broadway. It's a shopping mall. And we would, a bunch of kids, myself included, we would wash people's windshields while they were in shopping. And then we'd leave a flyer underneath the windshield that said, "Your windshield's been cleaned, courtesy of Senator Robert F. Kennedy. Now that you can see clearly, vote for Kennedy on his." So that's how I kind of got started where I am today. But the most important lesson, and the lesson that got me to where I am today, was also learned in Oakland, and it was at the Oakland Coliseum. And I went to we loved ice hockey, crazy Berkeley guys. We loved the Oakland Seals professional ice hockey team, also brought here, I think, by Charlie Finney, who had brought in Finley, who had brought the A's here. And we'd gone to an afternoon game, must have been a Saturday or Sunday. It was just my mom and myself. And when the game was over, we went to walk back to the car. And my mom said, "Well, the car's over this way." And I said, "No, Mom, the car's over this way." And she said, "Well, no," and started to say, "Look, I parked the car. I drove it here." And it's like, "Pardon me, Mom, but screw you. I'm going over to where a car is." And I just started walking to where I knew the car was. And my mom arrived there a couple minutes later, and she got in the car, half with a grin and half with a grimace, and said, "When you're right, never give up." And I think it's an important lesson, and it's an important lesson that I have followed, because, when you're right in crisis communications, or in any communications, politics, or communications, sadly, sometimes with your mates, when things aren't going particularly well, if you're right, never give up. Stick with what you know to be the facts and to be true. And in crisis communications, I'm going to steal from the David Mamet movie, which is where they have the famous line that Alec Baldwin uses, "Always be closing ABC." Well, in communications and crisis communications in particular, it really is always be communicating. That's the ABC of what we do, is constantly telling that story. And since I started as a newspaper reporter, which I'll talk about in a moment, the thing that's most important as part of telling crisis communications, as well as just communications, is asking good questions and knowing the answers to those questions. When I was a cub reporter at the Berkeley Daily Gazette and Richmond Independent, I thought I knew everything in the world. I was about 19, and I was absolutely sure that I knew everything in the world. I wrote a story about a car crash on I-80 in Berkeley. And because it was on my beat list, every morning you had to call the cops, the highway patrol, you had to call mortuaries, you had to call fire departments and see what had gone on. So the CHP told me about this car crash. So I wrote the story, I handed it in to the editors in front of me, and they looked at it and they threw it back to me and they said, "Which way was vehicle 1 going? Which way was vehicle 2 going?" I said, "Oh, gosh." So I got to call back the CHP and ask which way people gone. And they threw it back to me again. They said, "Well, what time did this happen?" And there was 2 occupants in one vehicle and 1 in the other. Which hospitals did they go to? Well, as you can kind of see, I learned how to drill down and become a good question asker, really by osmosis. And because these older, smarter guys who were, well, I was 18 or 19, these guys were like 26, 27, they were kicking my behind and making me learn the profession. So the first rule of crisis communications is to ask good questions. You got to know what you're dealing with. You have to find out what the facts really are so you can communicate to the public and communicate to target audiences, to investors, to stockholders, to regulators, to community groups, to business groups. And the reason that you ask good questions is you want to be able to tell good stories. And to tell a good story, you have to have those facts. In journalism school, where I overlooked Rotary International, they used to say there was the 3 C's of journalism were clear, concise, and correct. And they said if you really were good, you might win a Pulitzer Prize if you made it compelling, which was the 4th C. Clear, concise, correct, compelling. You do that by asking good questions, by helping frame those stories. And then also, when you have a crisis, or in a perfect world, if you know a crisis is coming, if you can be the one to tell the story first, to frame it, so that people see it from the individual's perspective, from the corporations or nonprofits' perspective. If you frame the story and you're able to tell it first, essentially you have some control over the headline, as opposed to responding to the media, to regulatory agencies, to critics. So that's very important. And then I think, so one, ask good questions. Two, tell good stories. Three, try to be the first and frame it. And four, take risks. I have a number of years ago, I managed the Attorney General's campaign in the state of California, and the candidate, who's a really wonderful fellow, always wanted to wait for the situation to be absolutely perfect, for him to have all the facts. And his right-hand man, who's a very good guy up in Sacramento, said to me, I can't remember, he quoted, and I can't remember whether it was FDR or was General Patton, but he said, imperfect action is preferable to perfect inaction. And I think you have to take risks when you're communicating, because you're never going to have all the facts. The things that you never want to do, I would say the number one thing that you never want to do is you never want to speculate. People will always ask you hypothetical questions or speculative questions. Well, what would happen if, could it be that? Once you start to speculate or guess, you're, as my mom would say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You may have the best of intentions, but you're potentially misleading folks. You're potentially guessing at something that you don't have the information on, and you shouldn't do that. The best way to avoid crises, which is really what our goal is and what Sam Sacco is exceptionally good at, is planning. And to plan for a crisis, you have to think about what could actually go wrong, or some scenarios for what could go wrong. And then you have to do a drill to try to figure out, what do your own systems work really well? What things need fixing? What needs addressing? So you constantly have to be in a position of doing risk assessment. You need to be able to essentially, when looking at a crisis or an issue, and I like sometimes really rather than being a crisis when something's been caught on fire, a lot of times there are issues. It's not really a crisis yet, but it's something that's in the middle of the radar. Issues management is about preparing, reacting when you need to, and then recovering from whatever that situation is. I want to talk about a couple of crises and give some object examples. And I'm going to start off with the city of San Bruno, because we were honored to be able to work for them. The PG&E had blown, this will be almost 10 years ago now, blown a hole in the heart of that city. The first reaction by PG&E was, well, it may have, somebody might have hit a gas line or something. That wasn't the case. From the public standpoint and the media standpoint, it was so loud and so shocking. It actually, I think the Richter scale hit at least a couple points, 2 or 3 points. And that city was starting to recover, and PG&E was dragging its feet. 8 people lost their lives in that explosion of fire. I'm going to say approximately 36 homes were destroyed or very badly damaged. So a year or two after that, as all corporations do, and we represent corporations too, so I'm not going to get down on any of them, because we wouldn't be in business if they weren't there, but they tend not to move with a sense of alacrity. Our job for the city of San Bruno was to create a sense of alacrity for PG&E to make them to act quickly. And what we did, because they have been having discussions, the first things that we did was they've been having discussions, city of San Bruno, having discussions with PG&E to try to get restitution for the city, which is something that doesn't exist in the body of law. There's no such thing as restitution for a city. But we thought, people understand the general concept of restitution very well. they were dragging their feet. Nothing was happening. And I talked the city of San Bruno and their very wonderful law firm, which is headquartered in Oakland here too, Myers and Ave. I said, look, let me hold a press conference with the mayor and several members of the city council. And let's tell the public that PG&E has walked away from the table, which was true, that they were refusing to negotiate to try to repair the damage, the reputational damage that had been done, the lives that had been lost, and the very heart and soul of the city. Let's hold a press conference and demand they return to the table and negotiate in good faith. Well, you can't ask for a better client and an elected official than Jim Ruane, who was the mayor, now retired, of San Bruno. Very heartfelt guy. Mr. Smith goes to Washington, just a solid citizen. We held that press conference, and I got it. PG was absolutely unprepared for that volley. And within 24 hours, they said, yes, they'd return to the table. And with a number of months, we got a $70 million restitution fund for the city of San Bruno. What was important about that was you just like sports, and I hate sports analogies, but you have to look for opportunities to take advantage of the other people not being as fast as you are or not anticipating your next move. I don't think they really anticipated the city's next move, and it worked out really well. Everybody always wants to hear the story about the San Francisco Zoo and how the tiger got out. And so I love to tell the story because it also helped, help define, other than Sacco and the other folks here have given me great opportunities in life, help really push our agency and my reputation to a different place. So I'll repeat the beginning of the story. Probably 15 some odd years ago, Christmas Day, a tiger gets out of its enclosure, Tatiana the tiger. It kills one young man. It wounds the other two. For that week, there was nothing but what was wrong with the San Francisco Zoo. The tiger enclosure was too small, were some of the claims in the news media. Someone said that you should be able to walk around with a meat suit and not be attacked by an animal. It should be safe under all circumstances. And the zoo was actually in danger of closing. It's a public-private partnership between the city of San Francisco and the Zoological Society. So on the morning on New Year's Eve, I got a phone call from the zoo and their attorneys, and they said, can you please help us? We understand you're good at this stuff. And I said, they said, there's lots of information that's not coming out. It's okay. I said, I'll meet with you when you want to meet. It's tomorrow in the morning. I said, all right, I'll go light on the alcohol tonight. So the next morning I showed up and I met with them, and they told me a whole lot of really interesting information that had in fact not come out. And I used I'm going to ask good questions here so I can tell a good story. So some of the things they told me was that they believed, but they did not have knowledge that the tiger had been taunted. They also were able to tell me factually that there are no set standards for a cage. There are guidelines that are set for height and depth by the American Zoological Society. And they also said at that moment that there were things in the tiger's cage that shouldn't have been there. Sticks that weren't from the trees that overhung the enclosure, and rocks that just wouldn't have or shouldn't have been down there. So again, to my, ask good questions, tell a good story, I didn't really have enough information go forward, except we knew something had gone wrong. So what we suggested was, and we did this very quickly, this happened within 24 hours, we made up a bunch of signs that said, and posted them around the zoo that said, please treat the animals with respect, and treat them the way that you would treat other human beings, and we held a press conference to announce that. We trotted out the general manager, the director of the zoo, very nice man, Mr. Maldonado, to talk about how because we were reopening the zoo, it was safe, and this was our reopening gambit, and that we were posting all these signs. Because the news media went mad. It's like, wait a moment, they'd say to Maldonado, are you saying the tiger was teased? Are you saying something happened? No, we're not. We don't know what happened, but what we know is that people need to treat animals with respect. Well, that frankly bought us a little bit of time so we could do some more research. And as we did more research, as the old saying goes, better to be lucky than to be good. Some woman came forward and said, I was there with my child on Christmas Day, and there were these three young men and they were taunting the tiger. So all of a sudden it's like, okay, I never had to say it. Somebody else said it for me, that third party endorsement. Then we also were able at that point to identify that the sticks and the rocks definitively were not from that area. So we were able to put that piece of information out. Tiger taunted. We didn't even have to say it at that point, but now we could repeat it because there was an eyewitness, that there were sticks and rocks in there. That then became the story. What had happened, the news media turned to, what had happened. And as somebody who, I grew up in a mixed household. My mother was Irish Catholic. My father was Russian and Jewish. So, I'd say I'm the guiltiest man alive and I worry about everything. One of the points that I made to the news media was I said, no, wait a minute. I said, look, you got these two young men and a younger kid that they've taken. They're out there on Christmas Day. I have one question for you. Why weren't they at home suffering with their parents like every other kid in America? And it made the news media think, it's like, yeah, really, what did they gone there to do? Why would they do this? And then we got yet another lucky, not lucky break, I should say, but we got another piece of information, which is the cops finally found their car and it had a half bottle of vodka in it. And there were some half smoked joints or partially smoked joints. Anyway, within a couple weeks to a month, we had turned the story around from the zoo needs to be closed, it's unsafe, to the zoo operated properly and that these young men were the instigators of what went wrong. That's the value of putting together, the facts, creating the story, and in this case, coming from behind. We weren't able to frame it first. Somebody did ask me at the end, there's a natural cycle to news stories. There's the beginning when everything seems on fire, and then there's a moment when things start to switch, like it did in the tiger in the zoo. And then there tends to be a capper at the end. And sort of the capper at the end of this one, in a certain sense, was the father of the deceased boy very sort of sadly said, yeah, you probably shouldn't have been out there. And, the other kids are not necessarily good influences on them. And that kind of ended a month to 6 weeks of very difficult news. And the zoo was back and open and doing better. And a reporter from the Associated Press called and said to me, he says, is there a lesson to be learned from what happened to the zoo? So yeah, don't drink alcohol, don't get high on dope, and don't screw with man-eating animals. Thank you. I got a million of them. I want to talk also about Oakland because we've just gone through 2 recalls, Oakland, Alameda County. I gave advice to the 2 recalls, both Mayor Shing Tao and Pamela Price, but was not active in the campaigns. I would tell you, and particularly in the case of Shing Tao, if I had been advising her, because I have to take both sides. This is like, remember we were all in high school and you had to debate, you had to be able to debate both sides of the story, at least 2 sides of the story. If I had been advising her, I would have told her to go out and be more aggressive earlier on in telling her story. But instead, she went into hiding. And I think as soon as you see an elected official, a regulatory official, anybody who's sort of under fire, go into hiding, it's not a good strategic move, and it makes everybody doubt whether you're guilty or not. And I think she actually, even though I'm very glad she got recalled, I think, had I been advising her or somebody else, I would have said, hey, you got to be out there all the time, because she really only turned the jets on in the last month of the campaign. And she could have been out there many, many months before and helped defeat it. Right at the moment, we're working against a recall in San Francisco for a really wonderful supervisor, Joel Engardio. And there's some residents in his district who want to recall him because he was supportive of Prop K, which probably none of you care about really, but it takes a portion of the Great Highway, which was closing anyway because it was falling into the ocean and it's unsafe to drive on, and turn it into a park. And that's the one issue they want to recall Engardio on. And this is a guy who is an incredible public servant, who's a wonderful supervisor, who has everybody's best interests at heart, even though they may not always agree with him. He's very honest, hardworking supervisor that anyone would be honored to have as their representative. He's out there right now every day, fighting, talking to people, going door to door, not just because we recommend it, but because that's the kind of person Joel Engardio is. One of the other things that I think was fun and is an interesting thing to learn about is like when you're under the gun, and we represented the state of Nevada, which the federal government wanted to use as the nation's only nuclear waste dump site. They were going to bury all of America's nuclear waste. I think I would say more than 80% of it is produced east of the Mississippi. They wanted to take all that waste and they wanted to bury it in what they believed was a perfectly hermetically sealed Yucca Mountain far beneath the earth, where it could never come into contact with water and where it could be safely stored for 10,000 years. And it's a tough battle because it was in fact nicknamed the Screw Nevada Bill, and because the Senate wanted to dump it there. And what we did was we took that battle to the states, because you have to think, how does that waste get there? That waste gets there by trucks, and or by rail, and it comes through different towns and cities. And we went to Nashville, went to Chicago, and we held informative meetings to let people know that this was not just Nevada's problem. This is a problem for Nashville. This is a problem for Chicago. This is a problem for places in the East. And all of a sudden, we started getting some attention from those elected leaders back there. I want to tell you how important Oakland is to me lastly, because I'm getting the wind down here that I got a couple minutes to go. I really did not only learn that lesson from my mom here about, when you're right, never give up, but this is really one of the great cities in the nation. We have seen a period of 4 or 5 years now with significant decay, with attacks on our personal and property safety. We see a city that will likely go into insolvency, bankruptcy in the coming months. And it's really time for as many of you, because I know Rotary is about, spurring, amongst the many wonderful things you do, is spurring on local growth and local economy, to help in any way that you can stand up, be a voice, even if you don't agree with each other. I think more voices are always better voices. And this is a city that is so magnificent, so great. I grew up going to Fairyland that CJ ran at one time. It's like putting the CIA director in charge of a children's event. It's just a fabulous place. We need to preserve and protect Fairyland. We got to preserve and protect Lake Merritt. We got to preserve and protect all the wonderful things about this city, the incredible diversity it has, Chinatown, Little Saigon, the incredible people that we have from Latin America who are a vibrant part of our community, who are tremendously and desperately unsafe. So anything you can do to push for better and improved public safety, I encourage you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. As an appreciation for our speakers, we make a donation to our Polio Plus campaign. And we just really appreciate your ability to fix things that deserve to be fixed, and your pitch for Oakland. And I wanted to say that there's an epic day of service coming up for Rotary. I don't know if it's just nationally or internationally. And that sparks me to want to kick off that campaign so we can really show up and be visible in this town when they need us. And your remarks really helped me. I just heard about it yesterday, so you'll be hearing more about the epic day of service. So who was just raising their hand? Oh, Barbara and Gary and Alex. Okay.
We'll make it quick.
What is your opinion about how traditional media should respond to the accusation of being fake news?
Wow, that's a good question. I started off as a journalist, so it means a lot to me. And we actually do work for the National Trust for Local News, which is trying to protect and support newspapers. You know, you can't remain silent in a battle. And so I think it's very important for local newspapers, their editorial pages, opinion pages to speak out. And then I think for other folks here, to be able to speak out and sort of say, no, we support local news. It's a vital part of our democracy. And then I would also add to that, you know, the world's become horrendously expensive, but we got to keep subscribing to digital publications and keep the money flowing to the people who provide different viewpoints. Like I'm not a big fan of Oakland Side, but I read Oakland Side all the time. I don't like Seven Hills. It used to be the Bay Guardian. I read them all the time, and many times I disagree with them, but a lot of times they spark something in me because it's a different way of looking at something than I would look at. You can't have the Washington, D.C. current administration's mentality that this is all fake news. Sadly, it's real news. They just don't like it.
One more question. How about Alex?
So if we're trying to promote to the community of Oakland the kinds of service projects we do in through Rotary and the scholarships and all the rest, what are we missing in thinking about how to get our message to the citizenry?
You know, that's a very good question. I don't know all the things that you do, but I would tell you that, you know, one, I'm amazed by the quality of speakers. I recognized you took a dive today. But no, just, I think it was the rain. I was the only guy that would show up. But you know, when you have people like Leon Panetta showing up and all the people who've been here over the years, and this is a venerable and wonderful organization, you have to get out there and blow your own horn. Digital media, social media, traditional news media, and, you know, invite, sadly, the Oakland Tribune, which is now the East Bay Times, is not as vibrant as it once was, but you got to invite those folks to come and watch too, and stay in touch with them, and talk to KTVU Channel 2, and go down and meet with them, tell them what's going on at Rotary in the day of service.
Thank you so much. Don't keep us a secret. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to everyone who helped put the meeting on. Please remember to bus your tables. And we have a teaser for next week. Seth Butner, please let us know about our speaker for next week.
Everybody, as Sam had said, everybody probably has some connection with the Coliseum. You went to an A's game, a Raiders game, or a Warriors game. Well, the city and the county have agreed to sell that institution to an individual called the African American Sports and Entertainment Group. And Ray Bobbitt will be here next week to tell us all about that. Okay?
Very important to our city of what's happening with that huge parcel. So please tell your friends, bring a guest, and go out into your community and make some magic, which we've been doing for 116 years.
I'm going to introduce yourself to Matt, our newest member.
Yep. Please say hello to Mac on his way out. Welcome, Mac. Thank you for your service. Meeting's adjourned.